Jeff Manchester here. I have Pro Tools 12 open in front of me. The reason for that is I'm going to show you a trailer that I composed music for. I also did the dialogue mixing and the full mix down with some Foley and sound effects and all the rest of it. But this video is going to be about how to compose music for trailers, because I think it's a bit of a different fish, a different sort of mindset that a composer needs in order to work with, instead of a series of cues, one sort of long continuous piece of music that flows and really tells a micro story for a trailer. So I worked on a film recently. It's called The Protégé. I don't know when it's going to be coming out. It's a feature film, 2 hours long maybe. And this video is about how I came up with the sounds that you're going to hear in the trailer. So I'm going to bring up the trailer here in Pro Tools 12. You hit Command 9. That brings it up. I'm going to make it nice and big. And then, yeah, I'll have you watch the trailer. I'll stop talking, and then I'll explain how I made things, how I mix things, and how to organize files between Pro Tools and Ableton, or whatever sequencer that you're using to compose your cues. All right, check it out.
I would like to call Sister Paula and the Young Achievers Sunday School class for their special presentation.
Paula? Is everything okay? It's been 8 years since I've seen Samantha in church. Who's Samantha? She's a girl who used to be in my Sunday school class.
Help in the time of trouble.
Exactly, y'all got this, okay? I saw Samantha last night, and you could tell something was bothering her. Can I leave my card with you? If you need anything, just give me a call, okay?
What's wrong with Paula?
I don't know. She's always trying to find out things about me, and I don't want her all up in my business.
She kicked me out, and as of right now, I have nowhere to stay, but I can shoot with you, right?
You should know this. Look, these are my foster parents, not my biological. They're to find out that you are on your own. They make calls and you get put in the system.
I have no one other than Corey. I have no one here for me. Don't you understand how difficult this is for me?
You have no right to try to be somebody's mother.
Samantha, please.
Samantha!
Does God answer?
Yes. All you have to do is pray and wait for him to respond.
Okay, so that's the trailer. We have the time code burnt in, right? You can see it right here at the bottom. I'll talk a bit about that in a second. I just want to point out a couple things here in Pro Tools. A lot of people like the behind the scenes stuff. So I have booms here at the top. You guys know what booms are, right? Just big sort of impacts of low energy, right? We have some more over here. And these are meant to sort of accentuate the title cards that we're seeing. So watch or listen to when this one comes up, right there. And then we have another one coming in a little later over here, for example. And we have another, I think another little piece of music that features a boom, and that's contained within the music file. So have a listen here. Oops, let me back it up a bit for you. Okay, so these are just meant to punctuate and bring attention to the words that are on the screen. What else do we have? We have our full dialogue mix. Again, I mixed this film, the music and the mix down, and the dialogue. If you guys want me to do a video on how I did the post-production for dialogue, let me know. I know this is primarily like a composer sort of corner on my channel, but I do a lot of other stuff. So if you're interested, just leave a comment, and I'll be happy to make a video on mixing techniques and stuff that I use to do the dialogue. So here's just the dialogue.
I would like to call Sister Paula and the Young Achievers Sunday School class for their special presentation.
Okay. And then we have the full music file just down here. Okay. Now, It's important to note that I have a couple things sort of tucked and tidied away. We see a full music track, and that's because I bounced all the cues that I've done. Cues, in this case I had about 5 cues. I had them in separate tracks in Pro Tools. For example, here's, let's see if I can find Q2. Yeah, I'll make this active. And I've got Q3 and 4, make that active too. So here we have just the basic cues, right? Just the Q1. So if I play this, oh, I gotta change the, I believe I have to change the output. No, wait a second. I have to make this active. There we go. So as we get to the end of the scene, it's gonna cut off, because we have no music that follows it on that track. All right, and then we have Q2, which comes in right down here. Oops, I probably have to configure that too to make sure it's going to the right bus, Jeff. Don't mind me. So silent, and then there it is. Okay, so at the final mixing stage, we mix everything, we sort of send everything to one track and mix everything down here so that I can get a nice consistent level, do some automation if need be to make room for dialogue, all the rest of it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about how I compose the cue and where and how I know where to put it and all the rest of it. So let me just quit Pro Tools because we don't need to stay here anymore. I'm not going to save anything. This is the cue sheet, which I'm going to talk about later. And let me just jump into Ableton. Okay, so this is Ableton Live. You guys know that I work here. Why are we going here? Well, this is my kitchen. This is where I come up with all the, recipes, and this is where all my ingredients are. This is the production side of things, and then we bounce things over, as I'll show you in just a moment, into Pro Tools. So we're working with multiple sequencers and workstations. So the first thing you got to know about composing for trailers, at least in my setup, I have everything. I have every cue in its own session. So every cue gets its own Ableton session. This way I can always bounce back really quickly and make some changes if I need to a specific aspect of a cue. I don't have to interrupt an entire sort of session that contains 5 or 6 cues all mixed together and everything. And this keeps the CPU light. It keeps it more manageable for me. So if I go into my file here, you can see that I have a bunch of different sets, and these are basically sessions. And I have Q1, Q3 and 4, Q3, Q5, Q4, Q2. If I go into Q3 and 4, let's bring that up. You guys heard that in the trailer before. But I'm just going to bring it up here and show you how I made it, how I knew where to place things, and how I export it. And maybe I'll bounce into Q1 as well, so you can hear some of the piano stuff that I did. But I think Q3 and 4 is, I think, sonically the most interesting. And I think maybe you guys would like to hear how that one was made more than the other cues. So let's just wait for everything to load. So we're buffering things down here on the far left. Good, now we're done. So just to give you guys a bit of a refresher, on the first track here I have, it says audio, but this is really the video. I can just go and hit Command R and just write video. Ableton can host video. This should come as no surprise to a lot of you guys. If I go Option, Command, and V, I can bring up the video. And if we go to the beginning of the session, you can see this is the scene I'm talking about. If I solo it, there's some temp music in the background, so it's different from what I came up with, but anyway.
Can I leave my card with you? If you need anything, just give me a call, okay?
What's wrong with Paula? I don't know. She's always trying to find out things about me, and I don't want her all up in my business.
She kicked me out, and as of right now, I have nowhere to stay, but I can chill with you, right?
You should know this. Look, these are my foster parents, not my biological.
So imagine me getting this session, and it's totally blank, and I have nothing but the video. From there, I build, right? We have a bunch of tracks if I scroll down. Go all the way down here. There's quite a few tracks that I'm working with, and I'm going to explain how I mixed everything and all that stuff. But before we get to the instruments, I want to point out how I know to put things where I've put them here. And that's because there's something called the cue sheet. People who've been on this channel before, should come as no surprise to you. I've got a cue sheet here, and this is basically the roadmap that I send out directors when I want them to tell me what they want to hear, when they want to hear it. So for example, we have Q1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the left column. Start and end times, these refer to the SMPTE time code. So it says, for example, you know, I send this to them blank, right? It says 000 across here, and there's nothing else after Q1. Then they fill it out, so they say, you know, the 5-second mark to the 23-second mark. The name of the scene is the opening scene, and they say, I want a light opening, soft piano and strings, and a simple build-up before the music cuts. And they said, see reference from, you know, the start to 11 seconds. Now, I'm not going to actually click on this and play it, because I find that I click on stuff and play it, and then people on YouTube, they just can't wait to sue you. Like, they're very litigious. They just wake up excited to ruin someone's life and sue them. So I'm not going to play anything. I don't want to get in trouble, and I put the video up, and then I'm excited to share it, and then some nasty person is just like, you have to take it down. So we're just not going to play it. But basically, in the notes section, this is where I asked people to send me references, and the people in the protege were very helpful, because I have references for every single cue, so I know exactly what they're looking for, and we can sort of work from there. So in Q3 and 4, which is the ones we're going to be focusing on, I'm just going to highlight them from 47 to 115, and then 115 to 133. I have everything they want right here. So we have a couple trailers here, Girl on the Train, God's Not Dead, and I can go and reference those just to get a feel for what they might be looking for, and then maybe take it in a different direction. So if we go back into Ableton and I zoom in, you might be asking yourself, well, why do you start the music here at this mark, at the 3rd bar, on the downbeat of the 3rd bar? So if I turn the metronome on, I go back a bar. By the way, you guys know this, right? You can right click and set the grid. I have it set to bars. This is half bars. I can turn it off if I want, and this way I can just, you know, put the mouse down anywhere I want. I'm going to set it back to a bar, but this is handy if you're doing music production or whatever. Set it back to a bar, and if I just play it with the metronome, you'll see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we start. Well, the reason for that is if I click here, look, I'm at 47 seconds, and that's exactly according to the cue sheet where the director has said they want the cue to start. So that's why I have it starting there. But you'll notice I have about 2 bars of space. I have exactly 2 bars of space. Good wine. I'm drinking good wine tonight. If I go down, you'll see that I have music starting before the cue begins. And this is just to keep a common thread, just to keep some musicality going in between all the spaces. And this pad here acts as just a bit of a, it's just sort of there to sort of, I don't know, keep like a kind of musical bedrock. It's just sort of at the bottom supporting everything, and you'll hear what it is in just a moment when I go through all the tracks and everything. But anyway, that's just so there isn't like total silence, you know, before the cues start. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. Now, the other thing I want to just point out is I got some markers here. Markers are super helpful. How do you make them? Well, just find a moment you want to point out to yourself for when you're composing. Right click at the top, insert a locator, and write something like, you know, boom. And then you know to add a boom at that moment or something like that, right? I'm just going to delete that. And I have a couple here. Why do I have all these? It says here, 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 here. The reason for that is I got drums coming in, and these are the exact hits. So I was trying to sync up the hits with real hits in with my MIDI. It didn't quite work. I went for something else. But anyway, markers are really helpful to let you know when important moments are, so that you can just pair them with really interesting audio events. Now, I have started a new cue here, and that's really important too. So 113.07. I'm cheating a bit because they wanted 115, but I felt like 113 was a better moment. That's when we get that title card. So like I said before, I said that I'm doing different cues in different sessions. But in this case, I felt like I'm comfortable with the BPM, 82 beats per minute. I'm comfortable with everything. I started Q3 at 82 BPM. I'm just going to keep 82 BPM for Q4 and make it sort of one seamless thing. I think I can raise the intensity without raising the BPM and beat ramping, by just adding some more instrumentation. And you guys heard this the sound before, right? In Pro Tools, you guys kind of remember how it sounded. You're going to hear it again in a moment, but I felt like I don't need to ramp up the beat and create a whole new session or change things around. I can keep everything in one session and make 3 and 4, just kind of bring them together. So let's just have a listen to what Q3 and 4 sounded like, just to get a bit of a refresher here. I'm just going to turn off a couple things because I know there's some instruments that I didn't end up using. This and this. And we should be good. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start it here. Turn the metronome off. Okay, so you're hearing a little bit of noise here because again, we have background music happening embedded in this video file. We can't really do anything about that, so I just mute it. Anyway, now let's get into the individual instruments that I used for this track. But again, before I do that, I just want to mention here, we do have a marker here because I said start new cue on the 12 mark on the downbeat of the 12th bar. So again, if we put our metronome in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this was the most convenient way to do it because they said they want the beat. They wanted a new cue to start at 1:15. If I go to 1:15 though, in the time code, I'm gonna turn the grid off and just find 1:15. You know, it starts right after the title card. And that's okay, it works, but I don't really have a beat to work with. And by that I just mean like, yeah, it starts right there and it's not really landing on a downbeat that I like. It's landing on the 12th bar, 3rd beat. So it might sound funny if I were to start it there, like if I were to make silence and then start a new session there or a new section of music. So I didn't like that. So I just ended up cheating and starting it on the 12th bar. And this sounds very fluid, I think, and the directors went for it. So I was okay with that, and I was like, you know what, this is what I think sounds good. I hope they like it, and they did. So that's sort of an instance where I kind of veered off the path a bit. I said, I know what you like in the cue sheet, but I'm going to go a different direction, and they were okay with it. So I think it ends up sounding a lot more impactful when everything is following a similar BPM and a similar pattern and everything like that. So we don't want to jolt people. So anyway, that's just one time a risk sort of paid off. So let's go through every single instrument one by one, because I know a lot of people love to know what I'm using and what people use. So let's focus on that. So I think you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that I use for this cue. So the first thing we have here is strings. I've marked that strings. And what is it? $10 says it's a string. What do you think? Oh, we didn't catch the MIDI. There we go. So what is that? It is a little, it's from the orchestral pack, which is in Contact Factory Library, the tremolo preset articulation. And that's all that is. And if I solo that, or sorry, I am solo, if I unsolo it, we can see what it's supporting. Unsolo it. So it might sound kind of subtle and like, why do you need that there? But if we take it away, I think you miss it. I think something is lost. Take it away. Bring it back in here on the 7th bar. It's just sort of sustaining things, and it allows the chords that I've written in here to sort of interplay, the melody that I've written here to interplay with this top note that I'm just holding down. Okay, so that's that. You know, Contact 5, basic strings, nothing fancy. Let's go to the next bit, and I bet you anything these are Evo strings from Spitfire. Let's check it out. Bring up Contact. Yep. You guys know Evo strings, right? Use them all the time. This is the Tender Emotive preset. Just playing now on my push pad. Anyway, so let's talk about mixing. How did I mix these? Well, I've got this here. This little orange bar represents part of the signal that I'm sending to A, B, C, the C return. And I have a convolution reverb right there on the C return. So Convolution Reverb Pro, this is a Max for Live plugin that comes with Ableton Suite. And I've got the Real Places type and the impulse response, IR, that's what it stands for, is Arundel Knave, which sounds like they made it up because they're British and I'm not. I would just believe that, you know, they're not British, they're German. What am I talking about? And I'm sending a lot of it over there. She's pretty wet, ladies and gentlemen. -11 is what I'm sending. And just a tip for you guys, whenever you're sending something to an aux or a return, in Ableton they're called returns, but they're otherwise known as auxes, the effect, especially if it's time-based like reverb or delay or chorus, should be 100%. And then you should sort of manipulate the send here to your taste. But the effect should always be 100. And if you disagree with me on that, just deal with it. Next, we have another little piece of music here, grand piano. Right? And this is just to accent the two people, two stories bit that comes up at 48 on the time code. Check it out in context. Okay, so like nothing fancy, you know, like you might be asking like, hey Jeff, you know, did you get that from like the Spitfire Hans Zimmer piano library that takes 500 gigs on your hard drive and you have to surrender your social security and pledge allegiance to? No, this is just the grand piano equals solo pack from Ableton. It costs 99 bucks in the grand piano thing. It's just a native. This is what 99 bucks sounds like on a piano. That's all you need. Check it out. You know, if I play around with it here. Whatever. You don't have to break the bank. Next, what do we have? Do I have some audio here? I think I do. This is probably just a reverse cymbal. Oh, no, this is a rise and hit. Check it out. Boom. So in context, here comes another one. Another one. Okay, that's all it is. That comes from the Rise and Hit Native Instrument Sample Library. And the next up we have a piano. Again, no Hans Zimmer. I'm not bashing Spitfire or Hans Zimmer. I'm very envious of both of those things. This is just, again, it's the same grand piano. It's the same damn grand piano. And I'm doing a bit of volume automation. No, I'm not. I'm doing some reverb automation, some send automation here. You guys know what automation is, right? You're just telling the computer to do something on your behalf. Now, let's hear these little piano notes. In context. You know, just simple stuff. Again, not breaking the bank. Grand piano equals solo. Easy preset. What happens over here? What's on the third one? Yeah, this is, I love this. I'm happy to talk about this. This is some scattered guitar chords that come in at the end, right? With that little card at the end. So I love this thing. And it looks like I'm doing some, yeah, a little bit of utility automation. So it goes down easy. Where did I get this from? It's none of your business. No, I got it from a pack from, let's see here. I think it's Samplephonics. Yeah, Cinema Sounds. Beautiful post-rock guitarist pack. I don't know, it's Samplephonics, I think, but I mean, this just evokes a lot of high school for me because I was listening to a lot of Do Makes I Think and God Why. The wine is flowing. Mogwai and Godspeed You Black Emperor. Look these bands up, young people, because they might change your life. Right? And listen to that. You know, you don't have to do anything to that. As it is, she's fairly wet too. I've got minus 15 sending here to the Convolution Reverb. And that's another tip for y'all. I don't know why I'm trying to do a Midwestern thing. You got any reverb upper? I don't know. Anyway, so if you're going to be using reverb, try and send all the instruments to the same reverb. This isn't like a hard and fast rule. I'm sure there's someone in the comments who's going to be like, actually, don't do that. But the reason I do it is because you want all the instruments, especially if they're in the same key, to sound like they're coming from the same place. You know, if you're recording an orchestra, you know, you don't put the strings in the bathroom and the reed instruments, you know, in a Volvo, and then you put the horns in a Denny's and then you record them all remotely. No, you have them all in the same room so that you have consistency in the space and everything sounds like it's coming from the same place. So that's why I'm sending everything to the same reverbs, more or less. And I think that just gives everything the same tone or whatever. But that's one of those rules that you're welcome to break, right? Because the whole thing is like learn the rules and then forget about them. But just know that that's a rule. Not really a rule, but it's just a little tip. Okay, what am I talking about? Next up we have Rev Loops. And remember I mentioned before how I said at the 3-bar mark, that's when the actual cue begins. Oh, we have something solo, don't we? There we go, if I go back up. Right there. Well, I have some lead-in music, and this is just coming from, if I bring this up, this is Rev Loops. Bring it up in Contact. Yeah, so this is Rev Loops. This is a pack for Contact, and it's kind of an extension of their incredible Rev sample library, except it's kind of pared down. So if I just play a couple of notes here, set the key back there. I mean, these are just the notes themselves. Sorry, these are just the you're going to trigger a loop, okay? And you can set the root key down here. So I can go like this, depending on the key and mode of your song, right? This is an octave below C, octave above. And there's all kinds of really fun effects that you can put on too, which I like a lot. I just want to get it back to where it was. There we go. That's kind of close to it anyway. I think I messed with the EQ a little bit, but there we go. Now we have a low pass filter somewhere. It doesn't matter. But this is just to give some mood, right? Just to sort of help things lead into the cue. What's next here? I think it's another reverse cymbal. Right. So just find a cymbal, you know, find a cymbal sound, bring it in, and then go into your settings here, the sample settings, and hit reverse. And then you have yourself a reverse reverb. Reverse cymbal sound. And speaking of reverb, this is 100% wet as well. So that's why I made it nice and wet. If it sounds, if I dry it up a little bit, it sounds like this. Not as good at all. Not bad, but just bring it up. Okay, so next up we have this, which is strummed. This is a really great instrument too. And you're going, Jeff, Did your delicate fingers strum that guitar? I would say no, they didn't. Strummed Acoustic did, by Native Instruments. An amazing strummed little sample library where we can choose all kinds of different presets and modes and blah blah blah. I'm not going to get into it too much, but just to give you an example, under the passengers setting, there's a whole bunch here, a whole bunch in the song browser. I've got this playing. And then in context, let me unsolo it. There's all kinds of different articulations too. I can go down here, for example. It changes the tone completely, even though it's the same chords. Britpop. Go up here. Kind of sounds like a commercial. Why buy a Kia? I'll tell you why you should buy a Kia. Okay, anyway, let's move on. So anyway, that's strummed acoustic. A lovely guitar instrument. I play guitar, but can't be bothered now because I spent $100 on strummed acoustic. Why buy a Kia? Enough. Enough. Next, this says strummed. I know it's not. It's gonna be. It's not gonna be a guitar. It's gonna be something else. Let me just play it for you. Check it out. It's a phrase from Vocalize. Although someone said Vocalize in another video, and now I'm like, oh, am I saying it wrong? Am I that bonehead that's saying everything wrong? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I think this girl has a name too. I don't know if it's Siobhan, but this is, she does have a name. She has a name, Jeff. I think it's Carly. Yeah, it's Carly. I think. Anyway, whatever. Siobhan, Allison, Senji or something, and Carla. I think it's Carla. You guys have heard me talk about Vocalize on the channel before. I mean, if you don't have this, go buy it. It's $100. It was recently used in the Wonder Woman's trailer. I tweeted Heaviosity, and they were like, stop trying to talk to us. What's next? We have Capriccio. This is Capriccio from Sonokinetic. I'm doing a British accent because they're from the country of British accents. Just triads, right? In context. Hi, this is Ruben from Sonokinetic. We're quite proud of our latest library. Okay, enough of that. Yeah, so I'm just using one of the articulations here. I have the others muted, as indicated by the M's here. And I mean, you know, this isn't really a video on Capriccio, but oh my gosh, is it ever in depth. It's gorgeous. But if I unmuted these, we get all these other articulations playing, and it would sound a wee bit bonkers. Check it out. So let's mute them. Okay, next up, we have a little guitar that's poking through right here. You know, and is this from some Big Fish guitar sample library? It's going to cost you $400. No, this is Ableton's dual amped crunch guitar preset from the guitar and bass pack, which is a native Ableton pack. It's $100. Sounds awesome. And it's running through some reverb on both ends. It's running through, well, it's got a little bit of panning. It's being panned to the left. If I bring it to the right, you can hear that. Okay. And that's all it is. We have some other effects here going down. So some auto pan and chorus and reverb, and these can all be controlled by the macros down here. So, and next we have some drums, right? Just to give a bit of flavor to the very end. And these also have some gain automation, so they go down. Okay, and that's just because I couldn't really end the phrase well, so I'm like, oh, I'll just turn it down. Where did I get that from? I got it from, I think this was from Action Strikes. Yeah, Heroic Drums. That's just a patch. What do we have next here? Some more drums, which I think, no, I've muted those. We're not going to play those. I got rid of these. By the way, this is another thing. I mean, this cue went through a lot of consultation with the director. So they said, can you please add this and change this and this? And then I kind of made some changes on my own end. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get rid of some strings and some guitars. And some drums. So why don't I play you some of the stuff that was in before? It was these drums and strings. And to me, it just sounded a bit too intense. You know what I mean? It feels like Iron Man's gonna break out of the wall, and I'm more than happy to bring that, you know, because they are your client. But I felt like, you know, maybe if we tone it down a little bit, we can get the same thing and hear some of the lines a little better. And anyway, so they went with it. But anyway, just to show you, you know, nothing's ever finished. It's always in a state of flux and transformation and all the rest of it. So for now, I'm just gonna unmute those, or unsolo those rather. What comes next here? I believe I have, some drums right here. So I eventually settled, after I ditched the other drums, but kept them in for this demo, I settled on just like a 4-to-the-floor kick. Okay. This is also getting a little bit of automation. I'm turning the reverb on right here at the very end as this red thing goes up. And here we go. Now, if we go into Contact 5, where is this coming from? It's also from Action Strikes, but it's from the big cinematic hits. So if you go and find Action Strikes, go into Instruments, and then you go into Hits, you can just have access to the individual components that make up the ensembles. And that's really helpful if you just like the sound of one thing, and then you can sort of bring it in and manipulate it to taste. What do we have here? This is interesting. You know, so that's just to sort of accent the quick editing that happens here at arguably the climax of the trailer. Anyway, so I just did that. Next up we have, I think this is another rise and hit. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And that again comes from the Rise and Hit Native Instruments sample library. Next up, we have some pads. Quite a lot, right? To just one little cue for one trailer. It's a lot of stuff going on. If I solo these. And again, you're like, where are we again? Because there's so much going on. These pads, I think pads are what help you bridge certain sections of a trailer together, or certain cues if you're doing a lot of editing. A pad is a sort of an attack light burst of sound that sounds almost like sort of a condensed ambient song. You know, it's just meant to sort of float and flutter like a ghost trudging about in a void, which perfectly describes what it's like to enter your 30s. So I'm using a Particles of Light preset, and if I go in here, this is from the Beautiful Pads pack, which was an extension to Rev Instruments. I can just play, you know. Why buy a Kia? because you deserve it. Anyway, so aren't these beautiful? World of Glass. Up with the birds. Anyway, so that's just, I mean, sorry, I can get lost in pads and ambient. I'm not really interested in strings and drums. I love to program them and make them and write them, but it's always this kind of airy-fairy ambient Brian Eno stuff that I really gravitate to. Next up, what do we have? Probably another reverse cymbal. $10. $10 says that's what it is. There she is. And where'd I get that from? I think I got it from... I think I got this from like a Sample Magic pack. Yeah. Sample Magic Ultimate Effects 3. Sample Magic, I mean, these guys don't make stuff for scores and trailers and that. They're mostly for dance music and that. But, you know, don't overlook this stuff. Try to find ways to incorporate stuff from sample packs that aren't really meant or weren't designed for the stuff that you're doing, and try to find a way to bridge them in. And again, these strings, we don't have to really talk about them, but oh my goodness, we have some more piano here at the very end. Oops, I'm going to de-solo something at the very bottom here. Yeah, there we go. I think I talked about these a little bit. There's the trailer. Okay, so when you're doing a trailer, just to sort of sum up everything you're seeing here, I mean, you're choosing songs that have, it's almost like a DJ set in a way, because the trailer is going to be, it's like a mini DJ set. The trailer is going to start off with music, and then that music has to sound like other music in the trailer, even though they're separate cues. So you have to, you know, if you used a piano in Q1, try and use a piano in Q2 and 3. If you use strings in Q2, try to bring them back in Q5. Everything has to kind of fit the same dress code and look good together, you know. It's almost like, and it's tricky because when I got the cue sheet from the director, you know, they wanted things that were very different in sound. It was almost like making a coat, you know, and they said, well, I want it to be 1/4 leather, 1/4 velour, 1/4, you know, cotton, and 1/4, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another fabric. Why is this taking me so long? It doesn't matter. Anyway, aluminum foil, and you put it together and then you show them and they're like, wow, that's a mess, you know. It's your job to make it not look like a mess. It's your job to find a way to weave all of these fabrics into one consistent outfit, if we're going to stick with the sartorial metaphors. That's what you have to do. So for example, just to give you a real example of this, I'm going to go into Q1 because we've heard Q3 and 4. Go into Q1. I'm not saving anything. I have Q1 here open in front of me, and as I was saying earlier, in Q3 and 4 we have strings, we have piano, we have things that are happening. We want consistent instruments to be all over this trailer. So in Q1 in front of me, I've got piano, I've got strings, all the rest of it, to make sure that everything fits really well together. So if I back this up, play the video, you can hear those instruments coming in. Right? There's the piano. Going left and right. You have a Celesta here, which we hadn't heard before. A Celesta, I just thought this is great because this really adds a sort of childlike feel to the track. And we have children, right? Filling into to what looks like a Sunday school with the piano. And because this is its own cue, I don't have to deal with, you know, automating the BPM or whatever. This is 75 BPM, right? The other one was 82. So each cue gets its own session. Therefore, we can do things independently, and that's really helpful. So, and then I have some piano entering here. And why do I have that? Well, notice where the piano comes in. I've got this here, this cutaway to school, and that's when I have the piano starting, because in a trailer or in any movie, you want to accent things that are happening on screen with your music. So that's why I have this entering here. So listen to it. Now I know a lot of you might be thinking, well, that didn't land right on the downbeat at 3. Couldn't help it. I mean, the cutaway happened before the downbeat, so I had to cheat it a little bit, but I still think that it's effective. You have to make some sacrifices when you're doing this kind of stuff. So we cut away here, and then it comes in. So it's a little late, but whatever. The strings filling in. Again, Evo strings. I use Evo strings and everything. Anyway, so I'm just opening up another track to show you the consistency between cues when you're working on a trailer. Anyway, so when I'm done this, like I go into my, when I'm happy with it, I go in, I go export the audio, and I close this, and I look at my export settings, and I hit export, knowing that my cue is starting right when the director asked for it to start. And then I can just slide it in Pro Tools. In this case, if we back up here, am I starting at 5, the 5-second mark? Yeah, you bet I am. No, 5-second mark for Q1. It's consistent. Everyone is on the same page. I'm consulting the cue sheet. So anyway, so hopefully that gives you, I'm sorry that was so long-winded, but that gives you an idea of how to compose for trailers, how they're different from composing for films, and it's less daunting to you now, right? It's less weird and scary, and someone asks you to do it, you can watch this video, and hopefully it'll give you some tips on how to do it yourself. I should also say, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want me to do a video on how I mix the audio and the dialogue, I use a lot of really cool stuff, just let me know, and I'll totally be happy to do a video on that. I read every comment, ask questions, complain about whatever you like, and it's all good. So just like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. Thanks so much for watching, and take it easy. Bye-bye.